Okay.
I was talking about the problem between Israelis and Palestinians, that now they've fewer and fewer chances of knowing each other and appreciating each other as human beings. And I met a guy when I was there the first time in a little village called Bidu, which was fighting the idea of having the wall erected. And in fact, in the end, they were successful, although a few people were killed in the protests. But he was saying, look, I have Israeli friends. I don't want to kill Israelis. I just want to live in peace and have my own land to be recognised as being equal. And he said, when I had Israeli friends, they knew me for what I was. He said, but now that's impossible because fewer and fewer Palestinians are allowed to work in Israel, and Israelis are not allowed to go into the West Bank and Gaza, obviously, to see actually what's going on. And so very few actually know of the abuses, and they are ignorant of it. Now, whether that's culpable or not is something else, but it's very difficult if you don't actually know what's going on the ground. I mean, you can say, well, they should know, but you know, a lot of us didn't know what was going on in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, and you know, it isn't in the end an excuse, but it's understandable. And I have to say, I've never met a Palestinian so far that has said that they want the Israelis dead and they want to drive them out and back into drive them off into the sea. And I just think it's very sad that this, unfortunately, the Palestinians are depicted over and over again. If you see any footage when there's an incident, you see them all with their Kalashnikovs and with their scarves around their heads, looking like terrorists. And this is what is the general feeling. And I don't know whether people really examined it. They would think, well, these are ordinary people just trying to protect their own identity and way of life, but they get a bad press, I think, generally. And what I've noticed also is when they're interviewed on the radio, you always get the most articulate, coherent Israelis who speak very carefully and calmly, not emotionally. You then get a Palestinian spokesman, and often they're very, very upset and emotional, and I think it's part of because of the language, that they speak in a more flowery way. They aren't as direct, and the Israelis obviously have people highly trained to speak very, very carefully, and the Palestinians always seem to come off not as articulate, not as clear, which I think is a great shame. And somehow or other that's got to be addressed. I think it's improving, but also the problem is with our media. Whether people will acknowledge it or not, the media is definitely influenced by the Israeli lobby. And not saying necessarily the Israeli lobby, but the Zionist lobby. And anybody who wants to deny that, I think, is a liar, personally. And what I thought was appalling was when they refused to allow them to be on television when they were trying to get funds from Gaza. And everyone couldn't understand why that didn't happen. And then we discovered that Mark Thompson's wife is a Zionist, and it all falls into place, as if people didn't really know. But that's quite interesting.
Who is Mark Thompson?
Mark Thompson was the BBC, the head of the BBC, the executive of BBC, when they refused to allow the charities to appeal for funds for Gaza in the middle of the war on Gaza. And what I think about the war, the attack on Gaza, the total indiscriminate and over-the-top attack, there were so many awful things that happened in Gaza. And I heard a human rights lawyer talking who said he'd gone in with a small delegation at the end when the thing had stopped, when the bombing had stopped, and he said what struck him was appallingly, was the loss of life and the way the Palestinians had been targeted, but he went into a field and he saw, everywhere he saw was carcasses of cattle, and he thought that's a bit strange, and he thought, well, maybe there'd been a rocket attack on this and had hit this farm. Every single cow had been shot in the head. So somebody had got out of a tank or an armoured car and deliberately gone and shot hundreds of cattle in the head. And to me that is quite appalling, the idea of killing an animal like that when you actually know you're destroying the livelihood of some farmer is almost it's so horrendous, because
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
We'll probably have time maybe running out, so we'll have to end this section quite soon. Is there any final comments that you want to say?
Yeah, what I want to say is this idea of a two-state solution to me is madness, because the Palestinians no longer they've lost 78% of their land, and they've been divided up into little villages which are separated from each other. So it would be completely unfeasible to have what I would consider a two-state solution. The only solution is one state where the Palestinians have equal rights to self-determination.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's been very insightful, and thank you.
Thank you.